Hello, mindful friends. Today we're going to be talking about why mindfulness is so important in effective communication across differences. So this is along the themes of my next class coming up in late October on mindfully communicating through difference. And when we're learning how to do this, we can learn all the techniques and strategies, the ways to negotiate, the sentence structures we should use or the approaches. But if we don't have an internal stability and groundedness and a deep self-awareness, none of those things will actually serve us in the difficult moments, the trying moments of having these hard conversations. Because in those moments, we have a deep emotional experience, right? There's a lot going on for us, and there's a lot of sides of our character, our personality, as we are humans that are getting affected by these conversations. So in the moment, we might have all these strategies lined up, and then our emotion body takes over and we enter into a reactive state rather than a peaceful participatory state. And this is where mindfulness and our settling practices, our self-awareness practices help us kind of to enter into those conversations with this groundedness, the ability to be aware of what's happening within us and how that is going to affect the way we show up in that conversation, and how it might, if we're getting off balance, might steer us away from our actual intention in that conversation. It also, we use this mindfulness practice to recognize why it's so important to us and what we're kind of trying to communicate in that situation. Why we're wanting to share what we're wanting to share, or why we're trying to listen to what we're trying to listen to. And the reason that mindfulness helps us with this, so all the aspects of a mindful practice that contribute to having these healthy conversations are, for one, the main thing of the mindfulness practice, what I tell people, this is what you're harnessing every single day. If this is the only thing you work on in mindfulness, great, that'll contribute a lot to your life, and that is the settling and the coming back to present moment awareness. That ability within us to take a pause in hard moments or in any moment at all. And that pause is what brings us back into full presence in the experience that we're having. And this skill that we're cultivating in a mindfulness practice is so crucial to these hard conversations. Because in that moment, in that conversation, if your mind is wandering into all your stories about this other person, of judging them, of what it might mean if we lose this conversation, these big predictions of what this could look like way down in the future. If our mind is in all of those places, we aren't participating fully in full presence and awareness in this moment in the conversation. And it will take away from our effectiveness in that conversation. And so when we enter into these conversations, we want to be using this mindful skill to stay settled and to stay present in it. And that takes, while you're in the conversation, noticing your breath, letting the breath bring you back, recognizing your feet on the ground, really seeing the person in front of you, being there with them, present for them. So that's kind of the first biggest way that it helps us, is to bring in that presence and the settling, so that we don't enter into these conversations in a super heightened reactive state where you can feel your body already buzzing with the need to prove and react and fight. But you can enter in with a body that's already peaceful and calm, and how that will support this effective linking, connecting conversation. Remember, in the Plum Village tradition and under Thich Nhat Hanh, is that they always say, practice the 10 breaths before you go into any hard situation or hard conversation. Can you really breathe 10 times, slow and deep and steady, without the mind wandering into stories? And then do not go into the hard situation or addressing that until you are able to take those 10 breaths. And that is a serious practice, because when we feel strongly about something, those 10 breaths can be really hard to stay present for. So that settling is going to give us the main platform to stand on, of that groundedness to enter into these hard conversations. And then going deeper into our practice is that ability to develop self-awareness. So in our mindfulness, we're always cultivating the ability to turn inward and to observe and recognize what's really going on for us. What are we really caring about here? What are the true needs that are being threatened or questioned in this conversation? What effect is that having on us? And at a more fundamental level, that self-awareness is also in the mindfulness, the awareness of body. Right? So we're paying attention to our body and the state that it's in. So when we enter into these conversations, this is our ability. Last time we talked about the ability to know our limitations. And mindfulness gives you that capacity, because you're observing and you're tuned in, and you can feel when the body starts getting into a heightened state, when it's coming out of that peaceful, grounded state. And that awareness is what's going to allow you to take that breath and that step back, so that you don't continue participating in that conversation in an angry, reactive way. So that self-awareness, that body awareness of mindfulness is contributing to us in that way. And more understanding is developed around our own beliefs, right? In our mindfulness practice. What are we believing here? What's most important to us here? All those questions about what do we really want the other person to understand here? If we don't have a strong mindfulness practice, this could be all over the place, and our motivations could be to just prove ourselves right, to just get our way, to just make the other person understand. And the mindfulness helps you to come back to that deep question of why? What actually matters most to you here? What do you really want the other person to understand at a fundamental root level? And then the next part of mindfulness is that we're also becoming more observant and aware of what's happening around us. So, right, we are aware of what's happening within us, then also around us. And so I'm using that in these deep conversations to watch what's happening in the other person. You can watch their body language, what happens in their eyes, listen to it in their words, and you can really develop a deep understanding of what's affecting them most. When are they getting close to their limitations? How are your words touching them? And you get to kind of be aware of this interaction between what's happening in you and what's happening in the other person. And then that's a development. A big part of mindfulness is that compassion, and looking at that and being like, I don't want to irritate this other person. I don't want to insult them or take them out of a peaceful state. So I'm watching for that and seeing if I can act and speak in ways that support both of us in maintaining peace and groundedness. And when we can do this effectively, then our skills and techniques and those kind of sentence structures of negotiating and how to approach it will actually serve us well, because they will be standing on a platform of this internal peace and groundedness that helps them really serve their purpose, which is our intention to use these conversations to develop more understanding and more healing in ourselves and the world around us. So I invite you this week to examine, how mindful are you? And do you bring that mindfulness into your hard conversations? And if you do, how does it serve you in those moments to show up in a way that really does support intentional connection? If you like these talks, would like to join us for the upcoming class on mindfully communicating through difference, you can find information on that on my website, newleafmindfulness.com. My new book is now published, and I'm so excited. I'm getting really good feedback on it. People are saying it really supports them in developing a peaceful, healthy relationship with their body, no matter what the body's going through. So you can find that, Healing Mindfully, anywhere you buy your print or audio content. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you all very soon.